Hello and welcome to another episode of Secret Screening. So the other day I had a secret screening and I was hoping it was going to be End of Oak Street. Turned out it was a movie called Tony, which is about the sort of early life of famous chef Anthony Bourdain. I wasn't really familiar with about Anthony, like about his life, like what he did as a chef, and I'm not very familiar when it comes to like well-known chefs apart from like Gordon Ramsay, Harriet Ainsley, or I don't know, Martha Stewart. I don't know who else there is, but apparently there is a lot of famous chefs out there. Yeah, I wasn't really familiar with Anthony Bourdain or what he did. Like after seeing like more, pictures of him as he was older, he did look familiar. So I'd probably seen him on like some cooking show at some point, and didn't really think of anything of it. But apparently he was a big deal in the chef world, and just making really good food. I guess I mean that's what you hope for when you're like a really good chef. You're able to just make really good food. Yeah, so the story mostly focuses on Anthony and his sort of early life. He really wants to become a writer. He applied for, I guess, for university, or he wanted to go to university for writing, and he got declined because of, apparently in his interview it was like it was very sort of stuck up, and saying he could do this and this and this, and didn't even have anything to begin, like didn't write anything to begin with. So it's all very all talk and no bite sort of thing. Like he said, he's got all these things written, and he's got lots of money, and it's like, well, really, he doesn't have anything written at all, and he's poor. And yeah, so after he gets rejected by this school, he decides to run away from home. Still living with his family at the time. There's this girl that he really wants to get with, but it's never really shown that he's had a long term interest in her. It's more like he sees her and he wants her, sort of thing. I don't know if that's what the movie is trying to show, that it's sort of like a like love at first sight, or he just wants to do her at first sight sort of thing, and get with her sort of thing. Yeah, so then he makes, because then afterwards, after getting rejected from this school, he decides to run away to Cape Cod, which is where this girl that he likes is going to be sort of staying for the summer, I guess, before going back to college. He's sort of trying to convince her that he's writing this really big piece, and he's going to have lots of money, and he's this going to be this really big deal. She sort of sees through his bullshit. I don't know how accurate the movie is to like his actual life and what went on, but I'm pretty sure there are certain events that have been sort of dramatized to where like there's got to be an actual plot to the movie. Firstly, he starts causing trouble at this restaurant called the Flagship, causing trouble there, and gets kicked out, gets all his money taken. This sort of main chef, played by Antonio Banderas, he sort of takes him while he's like passed out in the street and drunk, and puts him on on a hammock like outside his house. Waits for him Anthony to get back on his feet, sort of thing. Then I guess gives him an opportunity to work in his kitchen. I mean, Anthony lied and says, yeah, I have all like the fire safety training and all that. So of course Banderas is going to be like, okay, yeah, sure, work in my kitchen then. And I think that's kind of the foreshadowing of what happens later on. Basically, what happens later on is Anthony is working in the kitchen. He really wants to make this specialty dish for his love interest, a lobster thermidor. He really wanted to make her, and apparently it's all going really well. They're cooking it, and it's being sent out, and Anthony gets distracted by looking at his lover and watching her eat the lobster thermidor. The kitchen catches fire, and then that sort of brings around like the whole, like, I guess sort of like crux of the movie, or like the low point of the movie, where Anthony, he's done this bad thing, everyone hates him, his love interest doesn't like him anymore because he eventually tells the truth to her that he's not a big writer, and all this, he's just working in a kitchen, and she's mad at him, understandably. There's that sort of, we get to that point where it's sort of like the low point of the main character, where everything goes wrong for him. There is this other chef that used to work for Banderas. I can't remember the character's name, but yeah, I'll just call him Antonio Banderas. Gets high on heroin and is late to his job. So Banderas is like, yeah, just fuck off. So that guy leaves. When it gets to like Anthony's low point, they sort of do a scheme, some sort of scheme or scam, where they want to do this clam bake out on the beach. Saying it's for it's donations to and charity towards getting the flagship repaired from the fire and back up and running, and it's hoping that it will encourage people to come and give money, and actually it's not going towards the flagship, it's going towards themselves. So they're going to take the money for themselves. Then during the clam bake, it gets to a point where Banderas' character does eventually, he shows up to the beach, and he wants whatever they're cooking, and gives him some money. Anthony feels bad, sort of thing, and decides to not keep the money, and it's going to go towards the flagship. So he rights his wrongs, sort of thing, and the flagship gets repaired, back up and running. Then Anthony decides, I'm not going to become a writer, I'm going to be a chef. So I think 1978, he then goes to culinary school, or the CIA, as Banderas calls it, and him and Anthony have a bit of joke about it. And then that's pretty much it. Yeah, so it's sort of that early stage of Anthony Bourdain's life, sort of like how he became to get started as a chef. It's not really showing his journey as a chef. It's more just the beginning of where he is, how he becomes a chef. Which, I don't know. I'm a little hit and miss on those sort of things, because it's like, if I know this person is famous for doing this, I want to see a good chunk of what they do in the movie. Like, if Anthony Bourdain is this big chef, then I want to see why he's this big chef, and not sort of just like, oh, he goes to culinary school and then that's pretty much the end of the movie. Like, I like to be able to see him in the process, like him being a chef and working in a kitchen and doing all these things. Like, those are the sort of more movies that I'm interested in. It's like Michael, the Michael Jackson biopic. Even though Michael has always been a singer, it's showing from his early life to 1990s. I want to say, I can't remember the time frame of the when that movie finishes, but it's a good chunk of Michael's life, and like, that's what we want to see. We want to see the him being Michael, and the songs and all that. But with Anthony Bourdain, it's like, I want to see this big chef being a big chef, and if you want to have him sort of learning, then have that as your first act. Then gradually, in the third act, that's when he's this big chef sort of thing, and he's cooking all these great dishes, and people love him, sort of thing. Like, that's usually what I like to see in those sort of like movies about people's lives. I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought the acting was really good. Like, no one stood out, and I thought, that was a bit rough. Like, acting was all pretty good. Like, music was pretty good. Like, it's got that 70s setting, which is really cool. Like, sort of late 60s, early 70s setting. I would say in the end, it was a pretty good, like, feel good movie. Like, it was nice in the end. Obviously, to where Anthony's life sort of went. I only, doing looking into Anthony Bourdain before recording this. I was saddened to see that he did pass away in 2018. 2018 or 2017? It was one of those years. Yeah, I mean, I thought the movie was okay. I think if you're really big into like Anthony Bourdain and you like super into like what he does, then I think you will enjoy this movie. If you're not super into biopics, then this one probably won't be for you. Or if you just like a movie, then this is a good movie to just chill and just watch, and sort of you just have a good time with it. Like, I wouldn't say it was like a spectacular movie. Like, I wasn't absolutely blown away by it. Like, again, I think if I was more into Anthony Bourdain, then maybe I would be more interested in this movie. I would say for Tony, I would give this movie a 7 out of 10. It's it's a good movie. I wouldn't say it's an amazing movie, but I thought it was a really good movie. Definitely recommend it, especially if you're into Anthony Bourdain. If not, and you just want to, you have nothing else to watch, then I'll definitely say give Tony a watch. That being said, that's all I got. That's all I got. That's all I got. So until then, I will see you next time. Have a good one.